Welcome, listeners, but take heed. We will say whatever we need
to share our knowledge, thoughts, and joy, and even things that do annoy.
Before we begin, please be aware, we have a tendency to swear.
You have been warned, make no mistake, so join us now.
We're for Fawkes' sake. Welcome to For Fawkes' Sake, a Harry Potter book movie compare and contrast podcast. I'm Ellen, and my severely sleep-deprived co-host is Karlee.
Sick babies sure make you stay awake for a long time. It be like that.
She's here now, though.
And I'm ready to fly into the Phoenix flashback. Last week, we covered the first half of Chapter 12, Silver and Opals, and the corresponding film scenes. We followed the trio into Hogsmeade through sleet and ice-cold wind, into the toffee-scented air of Honeydukes, where they run into old Sluggy. Harry is less than delighted to see him in the books, but fawns over him in the movie. In the book, Harry slithers his way out of another dinner due to his meeting with Dumbledore. In the movie, we have an awkward encounter with Slughorn in the Three Broomsticks and see Ginny and Dean holding hands and snogging before the trio leaves the pub.
During episode 216, Roncom, our Potter Pondering was, what are your thoughts on the movie leaving out the other spells the prince wrote in the potions book?
Hi, this is Jessica calling in my pondering. So, Levicorpus, they used it on several occasions in the book. I don't know why they don't include the humor from the books, but then make their own. Some of it works, of course, but too much falls real short. But I would have loved to see Harry cast Levicorpus on Ron and just lift him up out of bed while he's sleeping, And with Levicorpus, though, the only time I recall them actually saying it in the movie was Luna in the Hall of Mysteries against a Death Eater. I could be wrong, of course, but we see James using it in Snape's memory. I don't think he says the spell out loud. And then after being traumatized by seeing the memory, I doubt Harry was about to go teach Dumbledore's army the spell. So are we to assume then that it's just a common jinx in the movie universe? Like, where did Luna hear it? And then for the Langlock spell, I'm okay with them not including it. And Harry using it on Filch seems pretty bad and un-Harry-like to cast a jinx on someone who, A, can't defend themselves, and then 2, can't undo it, even if that person is Filch. It just seems really cruel to jinx a squib. Now, Muffliato, incredibly useful. The trio uses it a lot going forward from when Harry first learns it. I mean, I suppose it could be difficult to convey buzzing in someone's ear on screen, but the name is also pretty self-explanatory, and it could be done if they were creative enough or just use some simple dialogue to explain it. I don't know. For a series all about magic, they really do cut out a lot of the magic.
Hey guys, it's Jackson with my Potter Pondering. I really didn't like that we didn't see all the other spells in the book. Levicorpus, Muffliato, all of them. I mean, it's great we got Septum Sempra, but why'd we miss out on the others? So stupid.
Thank you so much for your responses.
Our trivia question last week was, why did Malfoy have detention during the first Hogsmeade visit? He had detention because he had failed to complete his transfiguration homework twice in a row.
Congratulations goes to Callisto Whitewolf.
Yay!
She effectively cut off Jessica's streak. I really hope that we get a good battle going back and forth between these two awesome ladies. My two Hermiones. I think this could be really fun, and it definitely keeps us on our toes for who's going to win this time. Is it going to be Callista again? Is it going to be Jessica? Is it going to be somebody else entirely?
You never know. For now, let's dive into the second half of Chapter 12, Silver and Opals, and the corresponding film scenes.
Chapter 12, Silver and Opals, Part 2. The trio bundle themselves back up and follow Katie Bell and a friend out of the pub and back up the high street. Harry finds himself thinking about Ginny, who they had not met up with, and figures it was because she was cozying up with Dean in Madame Puddifoot's tea shop. He scowls at the thought and bows his head against the sleet as he trudges along. After a bit, he realizes that Katie Bell and her friend are arguing about something Katie is holding. Harry hears her tell Leanne that it has nothing to do with her before Leanne makes a grab for the package. Katie tugs it back and it falls to the ground. Immediately, she rises into the air, arms outstretched, but the whole scene is eerie as her eyes are closed and her face is empty of expression. The trio and Leanne all stop and watch as Katie begins screaming, clearly in terrible anguish. Leanne begins to scream too and grabs Katie by the ankles, attempting to pull her down. Harry, Ron, and Hermione rush forward to help, but as they do, she falls on top of them. Harry and Ron manage to catch her, but she's writhing so much they can't hold on to her and have to lower her to the ground. As she thrashes on the ground, Harry tells the others to stay there while he goes for help. He begins sprinting towards the school and ends up colliding into Hagrid, who is coming from visiting Grop. Harry begins telling him that someone has been hurt or cursed, and when Hagrid worries it was Ron or Hermione, he tells him it was Katie Bell and leads him back to her. Hagrid shouts for them to get back so he can see her, and after staring for a second, he scoops her up and runs to the castle with her. Hermione puts her arm around Leanne, who is still wailing, and asks if it happened all of a sudden. Leanne explains that it happened when the package tore, and Ron bends down to pick up the sodden brown paper packaging. Harry grabs his arms and tells him not to touch it, then crouches down himself to inspect an ornate opal necklace. He recognizes it from Borgin and Burke's and remembers that the label said it was cursed. He figures Katie must have touched it and asks Leanne how Katie got it. Leanne tells them that that's why they were arguing, because she came back from the bathroom in the 3 broomsticks and said it was a surprise for somebody at Hogwarts. As she describes her looking all funny when she said it, Leanne realizes she must have been imperious. She begins crying again and Hermione pats her shoulder. They ask if she said who gave it to her, and Leanne cries that she wouldn't tell her. They just argued about it being stupid to take it to school before she tried to grab it from her. She lets out a wail of despair, and Hermione says they better get up to the school. Harry hesitates, then pulls off his scarf to carefully pick up the necklace before following Hermione and Leanne up the road, thinking furiously. By the time they reach the grounds, Harry can't keep his thoughts to himself anymore and tells them that Malfoy knows about the necklace. He saw him looking at it back when he was hiding from him and his dad in Borgin and Burke's, and figures it's what he went back for the day they followed him. Ron doesn't agree since a lot of people go into Borgin and Burke's, plus Katie's friend said she got it in the girls' bathroom. Harry points out that she came back from the bathroom with it, not necessarily got it in the bathroom. But Ron cuts him off to warn him McGonagall is coming. Harry looks up to see her hurrying down the stone steps to meet them. She tells them Hagrid said they saw what happened to Katie Bell and orders them to her office immediately. Noticing Harry's scarf, she asks what he's holding, and he explains that it's the thing Katie touched. Looking alarmed, McGonagall takes the necklace from Harry and shoos off Professor Filch, who is approaching with his secrecy sensor. She hands him the scarf, telling him to take it to Professor Snape at once and be sure not to touch it. The 4 students then follow McGonagall to her office, where she closes the door and sweeps around her desk to face the trio and the still sobbing Leanne. She asks what happened, and through tears, Leanne reiterates the story to the professor before becoming so overwhelmed she can't say any more. McGonagall sends her to the hospital wing to get something for the shock from Madame Pomfrey, and then turns to the trio to get the rest of the story. Harry tells her how she rose up into the air, then asks to see Professor Dumbledore. McGonagall is surprised, but explains that he's away until Monday and insists that he can say whatever he has to say to her. Harry hesitates, but then tells her he thinks Draco Malfoy gave the necklace to Katie. Ron and Hermione both seem embarrassed by Harry's claim, but McGonagall just calls it a serious accusation and asks if he has any proof. Harry says he doesn't, but fills her in on following Malfoy and his conversation with Mr. Borgin. McGonagall seems a little confused, and Harry attempts to clarify that he wanted Borgin to tell him how to mend something, but also bought something at the same time, which he thinks was that necklace. She asks if Harry saw Malfoy leave the shop with a similar package, and he explains that Malfoy told him to keep it in the shop for him. At this point, Hermione interjects that Mr. Borgin asked if he wanted to take it, and Malfoy said no. Harry thinks it was because he didn't want to touch it, and Hermione reminds him that he asked how he would look carrying that down the street. Ron pipes up to say he'd look a bit of a prat carrying a necklace, but Hermione shoots this line of thinking down since it would be small and easy to hide inside a cloak. The trio continue to bicker about it until McGonagall interrupts them to say she appreciates the information, but they can't blame Mr. Malfoy purely on the fact that he visited the same shop hundreds of others have as well. She also doesn't think he would have been able to get it into the school with all the extra security measures, and informs them that Mr. Malfoy was not in Hogsmeade, as he was serving detention with her. She thanks them again, then dismisses them so she can go check on Katie Bell. Though Harry is annoyed his friend sided with McGonagall, he still joins their discussion about who Katie was supposed to give the necklace to. Hermione doesn't know, but feels they had a narrow escape, since no one would have been able to open the package without touching it. Harry thinks it could have been for Dumbledore or Slughorn, and Hermione suggests that it could have been meant for him. Harry doesn't agree, since Katie could have just turned around and given it to him then, and it makes way more sense to deliver it outside of the castle with Filch searching everyone. He wonders why Malfoy told her to take it to the castle, and Hermione actually stamps her foot as she reminds him Malfoy wasn't there. This doesn't change Harry's mind, as he figures he could have used an accomplice or something. Hermione and Ron exchange a glance, and when they reach the common room, Hermione gives the password, Dillagrout. The common room is full of people who returned from Hogsmeade early because of the bad weather, and there is no buzz of fear or speculation, so word about Katie hasn't spread yet. Ron kicks a first year out of an armchair near the fire so he can sit down, and comments that it wasn't a very slick attack. Hermione agrees that it wasn't well thought out as she prods Ron out of the chair and offers it back up to the first year. When Harry asks when Malfoy has ever been one of the world's greatest thinkers, neither Ron nor Hermione respond.
The movie section picks up as Harry, Ron, and Hermione are walking back to school through the snow. They are a bit behind two girls, one of whom is telling Katie that she doesn't know what it could be. Hermione is walking several paces in front of the boys, looking a little tipsy, as Ron asks Harry if he heard what she was saying back in the pub about them snogging, then saying, as if. They catch up to her, and she puts her arms around both of their shoulders, looking very happy until a scream stops them in their tracks. Up ahead, Katie Bell is lying in the snow as her friend Leanne screams and says she warned her not to touch it. Katie then begins to slide back and forth before shooting up into the air, with her arms outstretched. She screams as the wind whips her hair around her face and then falls back to the ground twitching. The trio and Leanne stand there, looking shocked and scared when Hagrid approaches and tells them not to get any closer. He picks her up, and when Harry walks to and bends to pick up the package she had been holding, Hagrid tells him not to touch it, except for the wrappings. As Harry flips the wrapper back, the camera zooms in on a silver and opal necklace. The scene then transitions to the necklace setting on the desk, displayed on a gray velvet-lined box. Professor McGonagall walks around the desk and asks Leanne if she was sure Katie didn't have the necklace before she went into the Three Broomsticks. Leanne reiterates that Katie left to go to the loo, and when she came back, she had the package, and said it was important that she deliver it. McGonagall asks if she said to whom, and Leanne tells her she said Professor Dumbledore. Looking concerned, McGonagall thanks her and tells her that she can go. She then returns her attention to Harry, Ron, and Hermione and asks them why, when something happens, it's always them. Ron sighs and says he's been asking himself the same question for 6 years, as Snape shows up behind them. The camera cuts to Snape using his wand to lift the necklace from the box as McGonagall asks him what he thinks. He responds that he thinks Miss Bell is quite lucky to be alive. Harry asks if she was cursed, saying he knows Katie and off the Quidditch pitch she wouldn't hurt a fly. He insists that if she was delivering that to Dumbledore, she didn't know what she was doing. McGonagall confirms that she was cursed, and Harry immediately declares that it was Malfoy. McGonagall calls that a very serious accusation, and Snape agrees, asking for his evidence. When Harry says he just knows, Snape repeats it and mocks him for having gifts that mere mortals can only dream of possessing, calling it grand to be the chosen one. The trio and Professor McGonagall all just look at Snape before McGonagall suggests they return to their dormitories. Ron and Hermione immediately turn away, but Harry hesitates before he follows them. The scene shifts to show the Marauders map as Harry lies in bed and watches Malfoy on it. Lying in his own bed, Ron asks Harry what he supposes Dean sees in Ginny, and Harry returns the question, wondering what she sees in Dean. Ron calls him brilliant, and Harry reminds him that he just called him a slick git not 5 hours ago. In his defense, Ron says that he had his hands all over his sister, and he's got to hate him. It's the principal. Harry says he supposes, and Ron again asks what Dean sees in her. He responds that he doesn't know, and then calls her smart, funny, and attractive. Ron questions the last one, and Harry says she has nice skin, making Ron wonder if Dean is dating his sister because she has nice skin. Harry then tells him it could be a contributing factor, and Ron thinks about it for a bit before saying Hermione has nice skin. He asks if he agrees, and Harry says he hasn't really thought about it, but he supposes. There's a brief awkward silence before Harry says he thinks he'll be going to sleep now and sets the map and his glasses on his bedside table. Oh, nice skin.
So these two sections from book to movie line up better than most.
Yeah.
I think we've said that one other time so far in this book. But we have something for almost everything here. And it may not be exactly the same, but it is so close. It's really quite astonishing. In both the book and the movie, it starts off as the trio head out of the Three Broomsticks and are following Katie Bell and her friend back to Hogwarts. Like, that's a full ding right there.
That is a ding.
One difference is on this journey, Harry finds himself thinking about Ginny because, unlike in the movie in the previous section, they didn't actually see her.
I feel like he still would have been thinking about her even if they had, specifically in the situation that she was in.
Not the way the movie set it up.
No, not at all. But
because he was like oblivious to them making out. And
hello,
if he
Professor
had
Slughorn!
seen that, if he had seen that in the book, he would have had that little monster start to rear right then and there. But as it did happen in the book, he was just figuring that she was cozying up with him and Madame Puddifoot's.
Gross. That does not seem like a haunt of Ginny's. I don't think she would like that place at all.
No, but I feel like Dean would totally want to take her there.
Ew, get away, Dean. Dean's really nice. I shouldn't be so rude. He's got nice skin.
Oh, we are going to talk about that.
Oh, yes, we are.
So he's just kind of like bowing his head against the wind, scowling to himself about the idea of Ginny and Dean being cozy in Madame Puddifoot's and just trudging along. And then that's when they all hear that Katie Bell and her friend are arguing.
The movie does give us that a little bit. You can hear them screaming, or at least Leanne being like, you don't know what it is, blah, blah, blah. And the camera zooms past them and then looks at the trio.
Yeah, it's a great streamline of
it is very
how
much.
This started out. I think the biggest difference here is that Harry's off in his own little world and is brought out of it from this argument because he actually looks up and sees Leanne make a grab for the package.
Mm-hmm. But in the movie, we have the boys kind of conversing about, not really conversing, it's more Ron talking to Harry about, did you hear what Hermione said about us snogging? What? As if.
Right? And you know, in reality, Ron's just like,
I wish.
Right? As if, like,
what would
but
that
as
be
if,
like?
right? It definitely planted a seed for him.
And then Hermione's acting like the butterbeer affected her like it affects
House
elves.
elves.
And she comes back and she's like, hi, boys. And she puts her arms on their shoulders. And it's very funny, goofy, teenagery drunkenness.
Yeah, it
almost.
is really cute, but at the same time, why did Butterbeer get her drunk? What was that
Maybe
ginger
that wasn't
they added to it?
Maybe that wasn't the intention, but that's definitely how it read.
That is absolutely 100% how it read.
Yeah. So I don't know if
And
they
they
just were.
did have her like chugging it.
Yeah.
She was really putting that butterbeer back.
Yeah. I don't know.
Got it all over her lip and everything. And then she's like falling all over herself. I don't know how to describe that walk. She can't walk straight.
She's, like walking through the snow kind of like haphazardly, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, it's a little
And
bit
just,
of a mess. It
Smiling
definitely.
to herself. And then the way that she puts her arms around both of them and just like, ah.
I will say when I first saw the movie, I was like, is she like giggling because she can like read Ron's mood? And she's like, oh yeah, he does want to be kissing me right now. And I thought that would make you be a little silly like that, right? But
No, she's drunk.
they definitely made it read more drunk, for sure.
But then,
The scream.
pretty much, like,
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
they get pulled out of that. So it's like this trio moment that they get pulled out of
Mm-hmm.
in the movie. Whereas in the book, it's like Harry's thoughts that he gets pulled out of. It lines up pretty well. It was cute how they did it in the movie. I don't have a problem with it, except why Hermione was drunk. Like,
Yep.
really? What? Come on.
She's a prefect. She wouldn't be drunk.
I would have to say that the way shit happens to Katie, again, is similar, but definitely dramatized in the movie.
I think they did a really good job of making it really scary.
It was definitely freaky. But the book describes it as she tugs the package back from Leanne as she tries to grab it, and it falls to the ground.
Yep.
And Katie just immediately rises into the air, arms outstretched. She looks like she's being crucified type situation.
Yeah, that is what it looked like in the movies.
Her eyes are closed, her face is empty of expression, but then she starts screaming in anguish. It also describes her as being about 6 feet off the ground.
Yeah, she's really high in the movie. Like,
She's
way
like really
up.
high in the movie. Because in the book, they're like,
Trying
Leanne
to
runs
grab
to
her.
her and jumps up and tries to grab her ankles to pull her down. And the trio all go to help. And then she just falls on them. It was a lot more dramatic in the movie.
In the movie, they have her be this very, she looks like the Grudge. I don't know if anybody has
Yes.
seen that, but she really looks like the Grudge, where she's like got her mouth fully open
You
and
can
she's
see
like,
all of her teeth.
yeah, and she's making this weird, like, not gargling noise, but like a breathing in noise that sounds painful.
And she is screaming, but they like dropped the sound from the scream, but not completely.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, it
I
was
don't know.
weird. And her eyes were wide open.
yes, they were.
And then the way that the wind was whipping her hair around her face, which it described that way in the book as too, but it really added to the eeriness of
They-
it, I thought.
Added a little bit of like magic flow to the hair.
Yeah.
Like it was like kind of staying in place, standing up, like the magic was affecting her whole being, where
Yeah.
her hair was kind of, yes, in the wind, but up. Like there's magic holding it there. It was definitely scary. Like 15, 16-year-old me had seen that, I would have been like, holy sh.
Yeah. And there was no jumping up to grab her ankles and
No.
try and pull her down. She was like 15 feet up in the air.
Yeah, she was really high. And then she slams
Yeah.
into the ground. There's no just falling and landing on
Well,
people.
Ron and
She's
Harry
just
kind
getting
of catch
slammed.
her
Yeah.
in the book.
She just slams slams hard, and then she's like twitching on the ground. This curse, oh my gosh.
It seems terrible.
Yes, this seems terrible.
And like I said in the book, Harry and Ron catch her, but she's just writhing so much that they have to
to put her down.
Yeah, they have to lower her to the ground. There's nothing. They can't hold her. And I think that the movie still grabbed that the way that she was twitching on the ground. But definitely more dramatic.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Another slight difference is the fact that Harry runs to get help and finds Hagrid.
Yes.
Whereas in the movie, Hagrid just happens upon them.
Yes, but I don't often give the movies credit for things that I like that they do. However, they made Hagrid really intelligent in this moment.
Yes.
And I appreciate that because he's not stupid.
He's not stupid at all. Even in the book, he was a little like disoriented because Harry just comes running up to him talking about somebody being cursed. And I feel like anybody in that moment might be like, wait, Ron, Hermione, no, what's happening?
Yeah.
And Harry's like, no, it's Katie Bell. And then he follows him after there.
And
But
he picks her up and carries her.
yeah, like, but Hagrid is not dumb, and the movie does love to make him seem that way. And in this moment, he was immediately like,
Don't touch it.
don't touch it.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was, in the book, it was actually
Harry.
Harry who said that because it was Ron who was about to touch it. But it lined up well.
Mm-hmm.
It gave Hagrid some Hagrid due that he deserved. And
We don't get anything about Grop in this movie at all, but he is talking to Harry about Grop when Harry runs up to him. But yeah, I like the way the movie did this, where Hagrid was just happening to be, because he would be walking back
he
from
could be walking.
Hogsmeade.
Yeah.
And he sees them and he's like, oh my God. And I feel like Hagrid has been kept in the loop. Like maybe
for sure, he's in the Order.
Maybe not fully, because Dumbledore knows sometimes he likes to splurge
Shouldn't have said
secrets.
that.
Yeah. But I definitely think that he knows like something is going to be going on.
Oh, I'm positive there.
So when he sees this, he's like, oh, gotta help. And he helps and, you know, takes that very fatherly moment where he's like, don't touch that. It's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. And then they get it up to the school. They get Katie up to the school. It's just really scary.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, lines up really well, but then the movie does cut from showing us the necklace in the snow to then the necklace is here on display in a velvet-lined box, because I guess you have to treat a piece of scary jewelry like that with respect.
I think it was in the
They put it back in the box that they
box.
found.
Yeah, I think it was in the box, and Katie like ripped the package and
And it fell off.
you know, like when you get like pearls and they have like the double door
Yeah.
thing, I feel like it opened on one side and I don't know.
Something.
The box opened when the package ripped.
Yeah.
So, and she touched it. So that's really stressful.
It's also entirely possible that maybe there was a lid for it, but the lid wasn't included, so that upon opening the package, you would end up touching it.
Oh, that's fair, yeah. Malfoy is really smart. I know we don't know it's him at this point, but he is really smart.
He is smart, but this also still wasn't a smart plan.
At this point in time, he is so stressed about
He's
getting
so
it done
desperate,
right.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'll try whatever. And getting a Gryffindor in trouble versus getting a Slytherin in trouble, it's fine.
I mean, he thought it through and didn't think it through at the same time. But he is also 16.
Yes.
Yeah, what the movie skipped over was basically just Hermione trying to comfort
Calm
Leanne, calm her down, and get information out of her about what happened, which we do basically get in the movie, just in McGonagall's office.
McGonagall, yep.
Whereas in the book, we essentially get it twice, because she explains what she knows to the trio, and then she reiterates it to McGonagall.
But that's how traumatic events be. You always have to go through them
Yeah.
like 3, 6, 7, 8 times. So poor Leanne. This has to be very stressful for her. I mean, I know for Katie it's way worse, but I can't imagine at 17 seeing one of my best friends
Oh, God,
go through that. That would be terrifying.
I couldn't imagine just seeing anybody, even a stranger, go through that.
Yeah,
Like,
that would be really
witnessing it?
stressful.
Yeah. But in the book, like I said, it's Ron who goes to pick up the necklace, and Harry that's like, don't. And then Harry goes to inspect it himself. And when he sees that ornate silver and opal necklace, chapter title drop,
Yep.
Silver and Opals, he recognizes that necklace because he has seen it at Borgin and Burke's. And he also knows that one time when he accidentally flute networked there and had to hide in, of all
The
things,
vanishing
the vanishing
cabinet.
cabinet, he saw Malfoy inspecting it and smirking about it. So he knows that Malfoy knows about it, and he's like, in this moment, immediately just like, oh my gosh.
Harry can't remember Grigorovich when they're talking about wand makers, but he remembers this teeny tiny blip.
Well, this was meddling. He learned this through meddling.
I'm like, okay, so that sticks in your brain better. Metalling, so he's a welder.
Yes.
Ha 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 ha.
But he knows from the label with the necklace at Borgin and Burke's that it's cursed, and figures Katie must have touched it. So he asks Leanne how she got it. And this is the first time that we hear that that's why they were arguing, because she came back from the bathroom with it and was all kind of weird about it, and said that it was a surprise for someone at Hogwarts.
Doesn't say Dumbledore.
We never actually learn who in the book. Well, we do eventually, but
Yeah.
not in this moment.
No. I think that this moment is really important, and I really wish that it had been included in the movie, because Leanne says she must have been imperious. I should have
Right.
known.
She specifically said she was acting weird. And then, of course, she starts crying because
She should have known.
she should have known. And maybe if she had realized that, she wouldn't have tried to grab it from her. Maybe it would have never ripped open.
But I think that this would have been really good to see, because they don't really cover in the movies that the Ministry was actually genuinely trying to prepare wizards for the war that is coming.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get any of the information of them
None
getting
of those purple
pamphlets or
flyers.
anything like that. So in this moment, Leanne, yes, should have known that because they were sending out information of what it looked like to be Imperious. And I think this would have been really good to have in the movies, but they didn't include any of that. So, because why would you?
No, why would you give us the
Why would you give us
details?
important stuff? Yeah. So
But like I said, she starts crying when she realizes
that makes me
this.
sad.
And Hermione's like, well, we better just get back to school. So Harry pulls off his scarf and wraps it around the necklace to pick it up so he can pick it up without touching it. And begins walking along after them, thinking furiously, because like I said, he's just like, Malfoy knows about this. And he hasn't said any of it out loud at this point. It's all in his head. But the moment that he knew, he recognized that from Borgin and Burke's, he was just like, Malfoy knows it too. And it is just fueling.
Dirty man is always trying to make a connection, man. I get it. Dirty Harry.
However, by the time they reach the grounds, Dirty Harry can't keep it to himself anymore. And he's just like, Malfoy knows about this. He was looking at it when I was hiding from him and his dad, and I bet you anything he went back for it the day that we followed him. And Ron's just like, yeah, I don't know. A lot of people go to Borgin and Burke's. A lot of people know about that necklace. And Katie's friend said she got it in the girls' bathroom.
Never a good idea to go to the girls' bathroom by yourself, apparently.
Exactly.
In the wizarding
That
world.
is the message in general, though. Harry's like, she came back from the bathroom with it. She didn't necessarily get it in the bathroom. Just saying. And then Ron's just like, McGonagall's coming. McGonagall's coming. Like, danger, Will
Shut
Robinson.
Up. Shut up.
And sure enough, Harry looks up and she's hurrying down the stone steps to find them. And she's like, Hagrid said you saw what happened to Katie Bell. Come to my office immediately. And when she sees Harry's scarf, she's like, what are you holding? And he's just like, this is the thing that Katie touched. And she's like, okay, let me have that. Like, we don't need the child carrying this.
We don't need the chosen one touching this.
Right. And then, of course, you've got Filch, like, shuffling his way over to them, holding up his secrecy sensor, looking super excited. And McGonagall's just like, back off, Filch. They're with me. She ends up handing the scarf to him and telling him to get it to Professor Snape. And, like, do not fucking touch it. And honestly, that is putting a lot of faith in Filch.
I was going to say, I like this moment because she really does trust him to get it where it needs to go.
Because, like, what if she doesn't really emphasize well enough for him, don't touch it, and he hands it to Snape and doesn't pass that along or something, and then Snape accidentally touches it? Like,
That's true. I guess that would be a
that's
conundrum.
what I think every single time I read that. I'm like, she just passes it off to him. Like, you're playing a game of telephone with this super dangerous necklace.
I think that he gets it, though. If a Hogwarts professor tells him to not touch something, he's probably like, oh, that's magical.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hope so.
And hopefully he would relay it.
And it obviously worked out fine.
Yes, but, you know.
But anyway, the trio and Leanne follow McGonagall to her office, and she closes the door, and she does her own bit of billowing, I think, here, because it describes her as sweeping around her desk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
She's
needed
worried.
more of that from Maggie Smith.
Maggie could barely walk by this movie,
I
so
know.
we're just doing our best.
I know, but like,
Yeah, I know.
I loved her. But she turns and faces them, and Leanne is still crying, and she asks them what happens, and like I said, she's crying, but she tells them the story again. So we actually, and I just, in the summary, I just said that she reiterates the story because she literally retells it.
Yeah.
Like, we literally get it twice in the book. And I can see why the movie skipped over that, because
retelling in a movie is
it's not
meh.
really necessary. It just takes up extra time. Once you get the information, that's all you really need.
I feel like retelling in a book is really important because sometimes when you're like really into something, you're like skimming,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my gosh,
And
Yeah.
then you're like, wait, what? What
Yeah.
did I miss?
So then when it gets reiterated later on, you're like, oh, okay.
Or you can, when you retell something, sometimes you pick up on details that you maybe didn't consider the first time around. And it just can be helpful. But in a movie, when you're getting it verbally and visually, you don't need it quite as much. But she does end up becoming so overwhelmed that she can't even talk anymore. And McGonagall actually sends her to the hospital wing to get something for shock, which I don't feel like the movie portrayed on Leanne's part.
Leanne is like really like not unfazed, but she's kind of just blasé in this moment. She's just nonchalant about, yeah, she went to the bathroom and then she came back and that happened, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And like that's her tone. She's just monotoned.
And they really could have had her be distraught and make the comment about her being imperious.
Yep. And it would have given that little bit of the ministry's looking out for the wizards right at the moment.
Right. And I do know that Harry makes that comment about insisting that she was cursed and that she would not have done this otherwise. But he could have even said, was she imperious? Like, they could have included that in some fashion.
Yeah, and they just really didn't.
They were
yeah.
like,
However, they did include one of my favorite lines ever, which is McGonagall saying, why is it when something happens, it's always you three?
because it's so true.
And then Ron says, I've been asking myself that for 6 years, Professor McGonagall.
It's because they're best friends with Harry James meddling Marie Chosen One Potter.
True story. Should have been in the book.
It really should have. That was great. I hope that's something that they carry on into the TV series as well.
Yes.
I hope that's something that they really hold on to, like these great moments from both. Mm-hmm. And I do think that should happen. I do think that
the movies can be, or a show can be like its own entity while still staying true to the books.
Right, but I'm not saying that I hated the movies because I loved them.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are moments from the movies that I hope the TV series plays tribute to.
Oh, yeah.
While staying close to the books. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that. Yeah,
and this is one of them.
Yeah, indeed.
But like I said, Leanne is so distraught that McGonagall ends up sending her to the hospital wing. And then she turns to the trio to get the rest of the story from them. Sans the amazing line, and this would have been a perfect place for it. So, in
Honestly,
my mind, it was there. So Harry reiterates what they witnessed and then asks to see Professor Dumbledore because he wants to share his suspicions with him. And this is where he learns that he's not there. He is not at the school. And McGonagall's like, he'll be back on Monday, but anything that you wanted to say to him, you could say to me.
I think that this part's really funny because Harry jumps in before Ron and Hermione can even say anything. And he's like, I'm going to explain this part of the story. And I also need to see Professor Dumbledore. And he's just like, jump real quick. I got to do this right now. And she's like, bitch, he ain't here.
Yeah.
But I love that she's just like, if you can say it to him, you can say it to me.
Like, hello, I am the deputy headmistress.
I think in the book, Harry has this moment where he's like, I don't really know if she instills confidence in me. Like, I don't feel like she has I can trust her. And I'm like, that's really a weird thing.
I don't know that it was that he couldn't trust her. I think it was that he doesn't have the same relationship with her that he has with Dumbledore.
He should have a better one, honestly.
You think. But I don't think that he necessarily believed she would take him seriously.
Which is fair, but she works so closely with Dumbledore, I feel like, and I guess she doesn't really take him. She does take him seriously, but she just at the same time is like, you're responding out of hate, which is something that is said in the movies later on that Remus says. Remus says, you're building something on hate.
Yeah.
And
he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but he is doing it for the completely wrong reasons.
Yeah.
He is deciding that Malfoy is the one, not for any strategic information, and that is why nobody believes him at this point. But when he's telling her that he thinks it's Malfoy, they're having this whole conversation about why. And he doesn't have any proof.
No, he has theories, but there's nothing backing that up. And he shares them with her. He does ultimately decide to confide in her.
Yeah.
And
she is in the order, Harry.
Yeah. And makes that claim that it was Malfoy. Explains what he knows about him seeing it at Borgin and Burke's and all of that other stuff. But again, no evidence to back it up. It is all 100% circumstantial and speculation, which McGonagall points out. But at the same time, she's also like, did you actually see him leave with a package like that? So you heard him
Ask for
ask
something?
to have him mend something?
Yeah,
Or
she's kind of confused.
she's not following it that well because it's not
Because
a clear
it's-
thing. Like, they didn't
It's like
hear
Charlie
anything
Day
useful.
from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with all his stuff on the wall and all the little connecting strings. It's just Charlie Day smoking a cigarette trying to make
Right.
everything put together. It doesn't work, but I do wish that Snape had been in this scene because he also has really good lines.
Yeah.
You just know.
Which
is very Snape.
I love the look on McGonagall's face when he's just like, it must be so nice to be the chosen one. Or isn't it
Yeah.
grand to be the chosen one? And McGonagall's just like, bitch, did you just say that to the chosen one? Back off. It's so great, the look on her face. But
is.
everybody's just like super awkward silent once he says that. And they're like,
Because they all know he is. And it's really weird because at this point, I feel like Harry doesn't think that Snape knows that. And so that's why I think they kind of all freeze, is because they're like, are you supposed to know that?
I think it's funny and kind of awkward in the book because as Harry's trying to make his case about Malfoy to McGonagall, Hermione and
have
Ron
this
both
argument.
speak up to be like, no, this doesn't make sense. And they are. They're just like full on bickering with Harry in front of McGonagall.
I've listened to this part in the book several dozen times now. And every time I'm like, why in the world are you having this fucking argument in front of your teacher? Especially you, Hermione. Like, you don't want... It just makes you guys look bad.
Childish.
It does.
Who's going
And
to take you seriously?
I know they're 16, but this part is really irritating because Hermione is way more mature than that to have a fucking argument in front of McGonagall.
To be fair, at this point, they're kind of sick of him accusing Malfoy.
I guess I get that. But at the same time, how old's McGonagall? She's so old. She's like, guys, I'm right here. Excuse me.
And she kind of does do that because they're arguing about, like, Hermione's reminding them that Mr. Borgin asked if he wanted to take it.
Yeah. And he said, how
And
would
Harry's
I look?
just like, he said he didn't take it because he didn't want to touch it. And Hermione's just like, no, he asked, how would I look carrying that down the street? And Ron's over here like, well, he'd look like a prat
prat.
carrying a necklace. It's like, what do you think he's going to be walking down the street just going, look at my necklace. Look at my... Ron.
Yeah.
Ronald, come
that
on.
also feels really... Like, when Harry said that he didn't want to touch it, I'm like, how do you think they sell this object? Like, they're not
Right.
going to sell it to somebody and they're going to take it and then be like, oh, I'm cursed. Like,
Yeah.
no, because it will kill you.
But they literally keep going until McGonagall's finally just like, all right, I appreciate the information, but we can't blame Mr. Malfoy just on the fact that he visited the same store in which the necklace was in because
Which
that
is true.
applies to hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's a suspicious store.
And then she also points out that he wouldn't have been able to get it in the school with all the extra security, and he was not in Hogsmeade.
Mm.
He wasn't in Hogsmeade? How do you know? Is what Harry wants to know, which...
Let's slow down,
Okay,
Sassy.
Potter, come on. But she literally flat out tells him that he was serving detention with her for failing to complete his transfiguration homework 2 times in a row.
Which was our trivia question.
And that's hilarious to me. Like, she could have just said, I had him in detention today. Did she have to tell him why?
Yeah,
How
she
is that
did.
their business?
Yeah, she did.
But then she kind of just, like, cuts the conversation here and just
I need to go check on my student.
says, thanks.
But no thanks.
Bye-bye. I gotta go check on Katie. So, like you said, in the movie, Snape was present. In the book, he was not. However, we do know the necklace made its way to Snape.
Yes, it did.
So it still lines up.
Because eventually we get the little bit of information.
Yeah.
I like the speculation they go into, though. Because at this point in the book, they have no idea who it was for.
No.
In the movie, Leanne specifically said she was delivering it to Dumbledore.
Yeah, flat out gave us that info.
And in the book, they're left guessing who she was supposed to deliver it to.
And it's kind of funny because Harry is definitely annoyed with Ron and Hermione because he feels like they sided with McGonagall. You're supposed to be my best friends.
Meh.
But he also can't stop himself from participating
Yep.
in the discussion about what happened. and
Meddling Marie Potter.
wondering who Katie was supposed to give the necklace to because they don't know at this point.
And I like that the speculation that Harry has is Slughorn. I think that's a really good guess.
Yeah.
For not knowing. And his reasons for it being Slughorn are very factual. Like, unlike his craziness for vengeance against Malfoy, the stuff that he's saying on who the person
It's
is
like the
attacking,
Death
it's actually
Eaters
factual.
really
Want
wanted to
Slughorn.
recruit Slughorn, and instead he went to go teach at Dumbledore's school, so they can't be happy about that.
Yeah, so they feel like he sided with Dumbledore. I'm curious why they wanted him, though. I mean, outside of being a very good potioneer, but like I feel like
His influence.
oh,
He's got
I've
connections
never thought about that.
out the wazoo. Think
That's
of
true.
who he could persuade
Yeah, that's true.
and the reach that they have.
Yep. Okay, I never thought of that.
Yeah,
I was
they-
always
they
like,
want the spider.
yeah,
They want the spider with the web.
No, I don't like that. Bad imagery. Okay, they want Aragog.
I think it's really interesting that Hermione thought it could have been meant for Harry.
And Harry has a good retort to this.
Yeah, I don't agree that it was meant for Harry because I
No.
think Harry's response makes a lot of sense. But I do think it was interesting.
That is a good point. However, I think at this point Voldemort knows that it has to be him to kill Harry. Or at least he wants it
He
to be
wants
him.
it to be him. I don't know that he ever knew it had to be. And I don't think it had to be him. I think the fact that he wanted it to be him is what fucked him in the end.
That's true. So I think I have been re-listening to Goblet of Fire, and there's a point when Barty Crouch Jr. says that he is going to kill Harry. And I'm like, ooh, can you imagine if he did? Like, how much that would have messed up Voldemort's plans?
I think that was before he really decided he wanted to be the one to do it.
I think it still would have majorly messed up his plans, though. And maybe helped him. I don't know.
I kind of wonder if anybody else could have actually killed him, though.
I don't think so. So the way that I always read the prophecy was Harry could die by like a physical, like if he got in a car crash or something. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But another wizard wouldn't be able to kill him due to the
Because even when
connection.
Even when
I was doing.
Voldemort tried to kill him,
Yeah,
he didn't actually succeed.
correct. Because of love, Harry. Love.
And I mean, the fact that he took his blood and the fact that he tried to use his own wand to kill him and the fact that
Yeah.
there's like layers too, but we'll obviously talk about that more when we
Ogres
get there.
are like onions. They have layers.
Right? So it's interesting, but I never would have thought that that was the whole goal there, because at this point we already kind of get the idea that Voldemort wants to do that himself and he's not going to assign that a task to anybody else. I also think that
He had no intention of Draco actually doing this, though, is
No.
the thing.
and I don't know that we necessarily were supposed to think that this was some mystery. I think we were supposed to know the whole time that Harry is right, because we do know that Malfoy has a task. We know from the beginning of the book.
They haven't gotten to it in the book yet, where he overhears the conversation.
No, but I mean separately. Like Harry doesn't know. Harry's still speculating, but
in
we
the
as
book,
readers
we do know that because of the first chapter.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just very interesting.
And they only say the task.
yeah,
The task.
we don't know what the task is, but we can also pretty much assume right along with Harry that it is Malfoy. The difference is we know that Malfoy has some sort of task, and Harry is just assuming that based on what he has heard him brag about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really interesting because the way it's still written was to cast doubt on that. We think it's Malfoy. We know he has a task, but he wasn't in Hogsmeade. So could he have been involved? It's just interesting the way that it's written to stop us from figuring it out immediately. Whereas I feel like the movie made it a little bit more blatant. They flat out told us it was for Dumbledore.
Mm-hmm. I think that they do a really bad job up until the party of making Harry in the movies be really headstrong on Malfoy, because he's more headstrong on getting Slughorn to notice him in the movies. In the book, we get that whole backstory where like he's like, the whole time. But there's a lot less conversation about Malfoy in the movies, and you just don't get Harry's intensity about it.
You don't. You really don't.
And I feel like that'd be a good Potter pondering, like how people feel about that Malfoy backstory being left out of the movies, because it's really important. We get just like a whiff of it, and it's not fully there. I don't even know how to explain that better than what I'm saying, but yeah. It's just they give us like these little tidbits in the movie where you're just like, oh, Malfoy absolutely is a trash can. Like, obviously he's doing something in the Room of Requirement, though we don't really know it's the Room of Requirement, but you know, they show us Malfoy doing stuff. But it's not the actual entirety.
If you're paying attention, though, they really do kind of spell it out for you. You have to pay attention, but they really do lay it out. Because we know from the beginning of the movie, too, that Malfoy has some sort of mission.
Yes.
We know from him bragging about it that he's doing something on the train. He was bragging about it on the train. We know that. Now we flat out know that somebody's trying to kill Dumbledore.
Yep.
Like, it's getting spelled out. And then
it is.
In the end of this section in the movie, because it ends differently in the book to the movie.
It does.
In the book, they go back to the common room.
And they're talking about it.
Yeah, and they're just talking about it. Ron, I love this. He kicks a first year out of a chair by the fire so that he can take it. But then Hermione makes him get up so he can give it back.
And they're just like having a conversation while this physical thing is happening. Yeah. And that would have been really cute to show. But of course they didn't.
But then she's making a comment about how this plan wasn't very well thought out.
Which is something we were talking about.
Because it was smart in some ways. But how was Katie Bell ever going to be able to get that cursed necklace into the school? Like, Filch was going to go right over it with the secrecy sensor and then, oh, this is clearly full of dark magic. It was never going to make it to its intended target.
I don't know, though, because Filch would have confiscated it and probably have taken it to Dumbledore.
Right, but Dumbledore is not going to open a package that he knows has dark magic in it without being cautious.
It's a very 16-year-old thought out plan.
Yeah.
Like this Gryffindor's going to get in trouble for having something dark on her. And of course she's going to go to the Gryffindor headmaster because she's in trouble. And then she'll have to hand it to him.
I'm sure that...
And it could have been a really she throws it at him or something, then he would touch it.
I'm sure that it could have gotten to Dumbledore. But
yes.
How it would have gotten to him, he would have never opened it in a way that would have killed him.
Yeah. But again, it's a 16-year-old thought out plan. Malfoy is very, very, very intelligent, but like we said, he in this moment is very, very, very desperate.
Scared and desperate. And I love where the chapter ends because Harry's just like, Hermione says it's not very well thought out, and Harry's just like, but when has Malfoy ever been one of the world's greatest thinkers? And both
neither
Ron
of them
and Hermione
respond.
are like, la 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 la.
Yeah.
I can hear you. I have nothing to say to this. And that's where the chapter ends. But the movie section ended differently.
No, we get something funnier. Very rom-commy in this moment where they're talking about, what do you think Dean sees in Jenny?
Yeah. Ron specifically asks Harry what Dean sees in Jenny. I
think Harry's response is more of a brother response. What do you think Jenny sees in him? Because it seems weird. I guess brothers probably don't really, think much about their sisters. But, she's my sister. She's smart. She's funny. She's attractive.
I don't know.
Harry's like, she's got nice skin.
The way I took it. So when Ron first asks Harry, what do you think Dean sees in Jenny? Harry's just like, I know exactly what he sees in her, but I can't tell that to Ron, so I'm just going to turn this around on him. Well, what do you think Ginny sees in Dean?
I think he wants to know what makes Dean attractive to Ginny. And
I don't know if he knows that yet. Hello. And I do think it's hilarious because, Ron immediately calls Dean brilliant.
Yeah.
And
you called him a
slick git. What? He's like, I had to. He was snogging my sister.
Also, is Dean not in the room while they're having this conversation?
Apparently not.
No,
Maybe
they're making
he's,
out in the corridor.
He's still snogging Ron's sister.
Ugh. Okay.
But I love the fact that eventually Harry does give an actual response, because Ron kind of presses, like, but really, what do you think Dean sees in her? And he does call her funny,
smart,
and
attractive.
Attractive? What?
How? She's got nice skin. This is the skin of a beautiful girl, Ronald.
And I love my first reaction to that was like, skin. Like, what 16-year-old is going to be sitting around talking about girls' skin?
But
and then you pointed out that he is talking about the attractiveness of his best friend's sister to his best friend, and I was like, ew. That
gotta
is
come up
definitely
with
a
something.
safe comment.
Yeah, so she has nice skin.
And what I love about this, that Ron clearly is never going to pick up on, is the fact that Ron then comments on Hermione having nice skin and asking Harry if he agrees, and Harry immediately says, I never really thought about it.
And Ron doesn't ever think about this moment ever again. He instead goes into crazy, jealous, stupid mode.
Like, literally, Harry can pull skin out of his ass for something attractive about Ginny. But he immediately has to say, I don't know, I've never thought about Hermione being attractive.
Because I never think about her that way.
Right. Like, that is the real sister relationship right there.
I will say, Harry and Hermione's relationship is really, really, really good. But has either of them ever thought the other one was attractive in a romantic way? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No.
I don't think so either.
But Ron has the jealous.
I think it comes from being
sixth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what does the Horcrux say? Least wanted by a mother who always wanted a girl, so the girl came next.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely has
there's some trauma there.
Some stuff.
I think it's so funny, too, that initially Ron's just like, nice skin. You think Dean's with my sister because she has nice skin? I'm just saying.
It's a contributing factor. It's a great conversation.
It's so hilariously awkward. And then they're both like,
I gotta go to bed.
I'm gonna go to bed now. Okay. And what's cool here is when you pointed this out to me.
At the end of this, Harry's like, I'm gonna go to bed, and he takes off his glasses and puts the Marauder's map that he's been looking at because he's been stalking Malfoy. Haha. He puts it down, and as he turns off his lamp or whatever,
the camera kind of focuses on it.
Yep, it goes to the Marauder's map, and you see Malfoy's feet just disappear into a wall.
Which is the evidence right there that he was going into the room of requirement.
Even though they never pointed that out in the movies, that it's unplottable.
But like I said, if you're paying attention,
yeah,
you can pick up on that, because in a couple more scenes, even though it doesn't really line up with anything that happens in the books, because we were never directly given that information until much later, we'll end up talking about it in a couple of episodes, I think. Yeah. We actually will see Malfoy in the room of requirement. And we only know that that's what it is because of this little bit in the map. And if you were paying attention and know from the books and stuff, you can figure that out. So I feel like some of it's subtle, but it really spelled out what Malfoy's up to.
What's going on? I mean, they show him messing with the vanishing cabinet at points.
They're like,
though you don't really know it's a vanishing cabinet.
No, but they spoon-fed it to you.
Why is he put a bird in there and now it came back and it's dead and now he's crying? What's going on?
Yeah, they spoon-fed it to you a lot more confusingly, though.
Yeah, I feel like
if you hadn't read the books, people wouldn't know what was going on.
Correct.
So, I don't know. It worked and it didn't work.
True.
I think. Because a lot of people, and I've said this before, a lot of people that I have watched this movie with that had never read the books.
You love watching this movie.
I love it because they have to ask all of the questions. And it's because they put things in such a manner that gives information, but not all of it. So a lot of times it's confusing. And then I clear it up for them.
Yeah, and I don't understand why you would do that. But I guess it's probably hard to write a movie when you know all the information. So you're like, oh, this makes sense because blah, blah, blah. But then you're not looking at it from I have not read the books viewpoint.
Yeah. That pretty much wraps up the book and movie sections.
Yep.
So we can get right into talking about the two actors that had a little bit going on here.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. We had Georgina Leonidas as Katie Bell, who did a fantastic job freaking the shit out of us.
Indeed.
AKA Grudge style.
Yeah, you know. It's the hair.
And I wish that they had given us more of her.
Yeah, she doesn't get very much. I mean, she at least gets to talk to Harry at one point. We actually get to see her not in a cursed state.
Right.
But yeah, we don't get a lot of Katie Bell.
She was present for the Quidditch stuff,
Yep.
but that's montagey and in passing. Like, she didn't really get to do much, and she had a lot more moments in the book that just really show more of Harry and the kind of person Harry is, I think.
Yeah, I think that if they had been able to keep the same actors and actresses that were on the Quidditch team with Harry, that would have been really good. I know it's hard sometimes,
Right.
especially with kid actors, because sometimes they do stuff and their parents are like, maybe this is a pass. So, but it would have been really cool to see her grow up with the group.
Yeah.
But this girl, she did a great job.
Oh, yeah. It was really a creepy scene.
And then we have Isabella Lockland that played Leanne. And I thought she did a good job. Other than they made her blasé.
Yeah, I wonder if that was more of a director decision, because I really wanted to see her more
Full crying,
hysterical.
yeah.
And
Because
I think
that's
that
how
would
you
make
would
more
be.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
you just watched your best friend get all fucked up.
Yep. From seemingly something you did because you were arguing over the package.
Right. If
so that
she
would make
hadn't
it so
snatched it,
Yeah.
she may not have ever touched it.
True story.
So,
But both the girls, I thought, did a very good job for the roles they were given.
yeah.
Just the briefest of moments. We don't ever see Leanne again.
No, we don't.
There's literally her talking in McGonagall's office, and then that's that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure to mention her because,
They're important.
yeah, we talked about her a little bit earlier on in the episode, and feel like we can at least give the actress's name.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody else in the scene, McGonagall, Snape, Harry, Ron, Hermione, talked about them before.
Robbie Coltrane,
Yeah, Hagrid, talked about him before too.
who plays Filch. Filch isn't even in this scene.
No, he's not in this movie.
He's not in
scene.
the movie scene, but he's in the book.
Yeah. But that then brings us to the Potter Pondering. What are your thoughts on how the movie portrays Harry's accusations of Malfoy compared to how the book does it? Find the post on our Facebook page and share your thoughts. Or call us at 216-526-6792 and leave your response as a voicemail. Make sure you start off telling us your name and then go into your answer. Don't forget you can also stitch your response on TikTok.
We really look forward to reading, hearing, and seeing them. That will bring us to our wizarding word. So, this week's wizarding word is a follow-up to last week's to prove that Miriam Margolyes is not correct.
She's not.
Nope. From Pottery Barn to Le Creuset, brands are making grown-up merch for Harry Potter fans.
Grown-up merch.
So this is a Rolling Stone article that we pulled. There are tons of really cute things on here. So Casetify, which I'm sure you have seen if you have Facebook. Casetify has been advertised to me relentlessly on Facebook because they know that I like Disney and Harry Potter, and that's kind of, they have all of that stuff. But they have a specific Casetify collection that is so cute. They have a Marauders map one that has like the legit Marauders map thing. It's so cute, and they're actually legitimately good cases from what I have seen. So there's lots of good, cool looking cases that you can buy. The second one that they advertise on here is a Rubius Hagrid collectible doll that comes with a tiny Norbert. So you can buy this on Amazon. This is the one that I particularly like because I love fossil watches. So fossil watches, they have the house watches, a time turner necklace. It's all very pretty.
The Pottery Barn collection.
The
is
Pottery
the one
Barn
that has
collection
me,
is
like,
my favorite.
There's a snitch clock, and it's freaking adorable.
I have bought some things from the Pottery Barn collection. So that's going to be the one that we talk about next.
the snake mirror.
So they have not only these things that are listed here, but they have an entire Fantastic Beasts line that is Art Deco.
So cool.
It's so cute. And so, like, if you're super into 20s, even if you're not into Harry Potter, if you're into, like, the 20s, 1920s, because we're in the 2020s, my goodness, into the 1920s motif and the very Art Deco look and stuff like that, they have a lot of stuff for that. They have, like, sheets and blankets and all sorts of really awesome stuff that you can do like Pottery Barn just has a lot of really awesome
Yeah.
stuff. And then this one I thought was funny to include on this because
The Build-A-Bear.
it's an adult line, but it's Build-A-Bear has Harry Potter plushies, which are super cute.
That's definitely one of those that can go either way.
Yeah, I think so.
The Hedwig is the freaking cutest thing that
The
I've
Hedwig
ever
is very
seen,
cute, and it's
ever.
only $32, which is surprising. And this one is the most adult thing. The Le Creuset Harry Potter collection. Le Creuset makes really nice kitchen gear. So they have the one thing that they feature on the Rolling Stone page is a really fancy like cooking dish that has Voldemort's wand as the handle to pull the top off and the
Dark mark on the inside.
dark mark on the inside. Yep.
It's really nice too.
It is really nice. It looks like cast iron. Like, it's really nice. Don't put your cast iron stuff in the dishwasher. Don't soak it in soap. I'm just giving you guys a heads up as a Southerner.
If it
Don't
is
do
in
that.
fact cast iron.
If it is in fact cast iron. It says, do note, though, the majority of the items are sold out at Le Creuset's official site, but you can find them online at Williams-Sonoma.
And we'll share this article too, so you can see everything and not just have to listen to us describe them.
True. They also have, if you've been living under a rock and you didn't know, Pandora has Harry Potter charms for bracelets. And they're really cute. And then we love a good Funko Pop, which I also think
Again,
is a
could
little...
go either way.
Yeah. And we love a good Harry Potter Lego, which could
Uh-huh.
also go the... Legos aren't really for kids. Let me tell you. Lego sets are so expensive.
They're so expensive and they're so incredibly detailed. As someone who has tried to get students to follow directions to build things or to make things as an art teacher, this is advanced for them. They do have more beginner options.
Yes.
But to put something like this together, like there is real skill
This specific
involved.
Lego set
This
is not for
not
kids.
a child thing. Some of them may be easier for children. But no, like when you look at that Hogwarts castle,
It's
which I need.
$500.
I don't $500 need it, but I need it. But when you look at the detail
It's really
and all
detailed.
of the pieces that go into it, that is not something that will be easy to put together.
Also, I'm not spending $500 for my kid to break something after he builds it.
Right. And then, of course, you have
The
box
books
sets
and the movie sets.
and games and
I do like the
recipe
cookbooks.
books. Yeah.
And
Wands. I think what is really neat about a lot of this stuff is even though it's Harry Potter, it still looks fucking classy.
Mm-hmm.
And I love,
Especially the Potter,
Yeah.
like the Pottery Barn stuff.
but I love the idea of having adult things that still tie you back into your childhood in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Because we should never be fucking growing up altogether. We should never be giving up on the magic that brings joy to our lives. And that is why I think that Miriam Margolyes is wrong. Why should we have to let go of something that brings us fucking joy when as adults we know how much we don't know and how fucked everything is and there's just so much doom and gloom? Let us have the things that bring us that joy and light.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
But like I said, we'll share this article so you can look at all of the adult Harry Potter merch. It's got other links in it too, so it just features some and then it links you to the full collections and whatnot. That being said, here we are at this week's trivia question. How much money did Merope get for Slytherin's locket? The first one who responds with a correct answer in the code word #bargainforburke will get a sticker.
Another way to get a sticker is to rate and review us through iTunes. If you don't have an Apple account, then you can write us a recommendation on our Facebook page. Make sure to email us at foxsakepod@gmail.com and let us know you did, and we'll get back to you to figure out which sticker you want and where to send it.
Don't forget to find us and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Fawkes Sake Pod. Following us on Podbean at Fawkes Sake Pod will get you the episode as early as possible and give you a leg up in answering the trivia question. You can also go to our website at forfoxsakepodcast.com to check out our For Fawkes Sake and Harry Potter related merchandise for sale.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we post our weekly podcast episodes, cooking show episodes, vlogs, bloopers, and other random videos.
If you would like to become a patron, you can find us on Patreon at Fawkes Sake Pod. Patronage starts at $2 and will get you some awesome perks like For Fawkes Sake swag, access to our Discord channel, chats, and more. Check out our page for the details. Any support you can give is greatly appreciated. And join us next week when we talk about the first half of Chapter 13, The Secret Riddle, and the they don't correspond.
Oh, well. Thanks for listening. Hope you hear us again. I'm Karlee.
I'm Ellen, and we are
For Fawkes' sake.